I think when people are so like in love with what they do, in love with their business, like the money doesn't really matter as much because you know that you're, like you said, you know it's going to be worth.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jack. This is Emily, and you're watching or listening to the Pure World Podcast. Emily, for anybody who's watching who doesn't know who you are, do you want to give them a quick rocket pitch?
Yeah. So hi, guys. I'm Emily. I'm an entrepreneur and coach in the health and wellness space. I'm also the owner of The Daily Grind, a healthy cafe here in Sharon, Massachusetts.
So, Emily, you're 23 years old, and you are an owner, co-owner of a cafe. That is crazy. How did that happen?
Honestly, it is crazy. I never thought that I would be doing this. Like if you asked me 5 years ago, there was no way I would ever think that I'd be where I am today. Longest story ever short, I was introduced to the opportunity of owning a place like this. I had actually worked in 4 different places that other people had owned. And then, just saved up tons of money during COVID and opened my own.
That's super cool. I remember you told me a little bit of a story about how you were going through a period of your life where you were working hard, trying to create a career in the digital space. Mm-hmm. And you were looking for a cafe to spend time in and work, especially maybe a place that was aesthetic and a place that just the vibes really matched the essence that you were looking for. Yes. And then you found a cafe and you spent a lot of time there, and that opened the door and the idea of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that stage of your life was like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was probably 4 years ago. I was in college. I was, doing all the things that you want to do when you want to be in the online space. I was posting on social media and made a YouTube channel and all the things. And at the same time, I felt like I was putting so much work into my content, but I wasn't getting much out of it. Yep. So I ended up dropping out of college. I had 4 to 5 part-time jobs on the go all the time, and I didn't want to be home much. So I had to find a space like I was telling you about before. I just really wanted to find a cafe or something to go to and just zone out, laptop, content, whatever, and just play. And I had ended up walking into a place very similar to this, a nutrition club, they're called. And it was called New Level Nutrition. I loved it. I had one of these teas and the shakes, and everyone in there was just so happy. And that's something that's so rare, right? Especially, totally in today's world. If you walk into, not gonna say names, but if you walk into a fast food breakfast place or restaurant, it's very rare that you're welcomed and said hello to and all the things. So I just felt so different in this space. And I knew right from the jump, this is something that I'd want to have and be able to give to people one day. So yeah, I just fell in love with it. And then from there learned how can I open my own, pretty much.
There's a level of community building. And it's in the digital industry, people talk about building community all the time. That is the goal. That's what people are trying to do. But it's hard to create a true community through screens.
Yes. And
so that's why having a space like a cafe where people can actually come in, you can have real in-person experiences and relationships. That's
it's so different.
It's doing the community the right way that communities were supposed to exist. Yeah,
for sure. And I found that yes, I do online coaching, and yes, I do communicate with people online all the time, but there's just something so different about that, that in-person one-on-one experience. Yeah. You get a much different vibe from me when you meet me in person. And that's why when I do work with online, I'm always trying to call you, FaceTime you, send you a voice memo, because it just makes such a big difference. Right. But having this is next level.
So you were working, you worked at a cafe, right?
Yes. Yep.
And your manager at the time is the sister of your now boyfriend.
Yes.
And so that was kind of the start of
the way in.
Yeah, the way into this idea of it's honestly, I think there's a lot of people who dream of having a cafe or something like that, and it's hard to get there.
It is.
It's not. There's not an easy how to create a cafe 101 course.
No. Oh my gosh.
Because I think the idea of having a brick and mortar physical location that seems like a really big threshold to break, and it's daunting for a lot of people. So what was it like? Like, tell me a little bit about that story of like you working at the cafes to you deciding you want to have your own.
Yeah. So when I was working at other shops, like I said, I was working at like 4 different locations. So each location did the same thing, but I was just, bouncing around, doing a little bit of everything. I also do like the marketing for all of the stores. So I kind of was stepping into the owner position without actually being the owner.
Right.
And that was like not something I was even thinking about. It was just coming natural to me. So after a while, and especially after just realizing like that I was so comfortable in the space, I was like, okay, like I know that I could do this. How do I get there? And so I pretty much just like worked with my mentors, my boss at the time, and my now boyfriend at the time. And I think like without him, I don't know if I would have been so adamant about jumping in as fast as I did, because we worked together in the process.
Right.
But yeah, just pretty much like just diving in. Like that was the only way to do it, is just like learn from other people, just become the owner before you are the owner kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the case with a lot of entrepreneurs is you'll see them working in an industry, in a company, and then they say to themselves, you know what? I think I could do this. And I might even be able to do it better than the way that people are currently doing it. And that's how you see these spin-off companies happen.
Yeah.
It's very rare for somebody to start a successful business so early in their lives. And I think we're examples of like really young people
Absolutely.
who have started companies that haven't gone out of business yet. Not necessarily calling them successful companies yet, but like they haven't gone out of business. And you're actually even expanding, right?
Yes.
You're opening a new location.
Yep.
So that's an indicator of success already, I would say.
Yeah.
Before we get there, I want to talk a little bit more about this experience of running your first cafe.
Okay.
What was it like from the day you signed the lease to actually having your first customers?
Yeah. So it was crazy. Like I never realized how difficult it is to work with people in that space. Like if you've opened a business in the past, or if you know anything about opening an actual location, like there is so much that goes into it and so many people that you need to talk to. And there's no, like you said, there's no rule book for that. You can't just look up like how to open a business in this town and like all the things. So it's a lot of back and forth. You have to have a lot of patience. But from the second we signed the lease, like this place in particular needed a full build out. So whole thing was ripped apart and redone. And that doesn't always happen, but obviously that's, something that happened here. And, contractors, plumbers, electricians, all of that needs to be taken care of. And obviously it's not cheap, but just something that you kind of need to know ahead of time going into a brick and mortar storefront. And the rules are different in every single town. So it's not even like every state has its own rules, but every town has their own rules as well. So you kind of need to check with the town and be like, okay, like what kind of plumbing do I need? Like for here, we need copper piping, where in Rhode Island you don't, and different things like that. So, and that's not things people tell you. So you kind of just have to go ask and ask and ask. And that's the only way that you're going to like just get it done on the first time, because you don't want to have to rebuild your entire place. Definitely not. So yeah, sign the lease. We did a full build out. You need to put yourself out there. Like nobody's going to know who you are unless you go out there and promote yourself. So one thing that Ricky and I did, Ricky's my boyfriend. I don't think we said his name yet, but Ricky's my boyfriend. Shout out to Ricky. Yeah, he's the man. Yeah, so we both just put ourselves out there a ton. Like we're not from this area. We're not, we didn't grow up here. We don't know anyone around here. So we passed out like hundreds and hundreds of flyers to all the local businesses and supermarkets. We went to like the library and the schools and things like that and gave them posters and we're like, look, this is what we're opening in town. This is what we offer. Of course, we started the social media page. That's like one of the biggest ways to market. So we started an Instagram page and started promoting like crazy. We actually shared like our whole journey too, which I think was really cool. And a lot of people like got into it. Yeah. So we shared like clips from the build out, like us going to Home Depot and all those kind of things.
That's
too.
Really cool. Cool content.
Yeah. And it's fun too, because then people are kind of like opening it with you and then they feel a part of your business, even though they're not. But yeah, so just kind of like putting in the work day to day. We opened this location in 2 months which is kind of crazy. Most people don't take 2 months. They take a lot longer. So we were both just like, go, go, go. And that's why we named this place The Daily Grind, because we're both just like always hustling, always on the grind. That's like something that we both really resonated with. And then, yeah, once we were open, we had a huge photo shoot for our grand opening day. I invited like all my friends. Everybody was posting it. And the grand opening weekend was crazy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, soft launch or hard launch? What, like looking back to...
So I am a fan of a soft launch. I will say, I think that the second you're ready to open your doors and make money, you should. That's just business. You know, I think that you don't need to wait. The second you're ready to go, let people in, let people try what you got going on. So I would have preferred to do a soft launch. Realistically, we had to wait on health inspections. So we were like ready to go, but we needed to wait for that last check on the piece of paper. So we ended up getting everything checked off like the day before our grand opening was already on social media and already put out there. So we just had our grand opening.
Was your grand opening what you hoped and dreamed it to be?
Yes.
It was?
It was.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so it's, you know, you always dream of like people lining out the doors and waiting until you open and all the things. And like, yes, that can happen. For us, the morning was slower. So when we, you know, turnkey, open sign on, music's blasting, we're both like ready to go. It took a while for people to come in, but we open early in the morning too. So like we are most well known probably for like the breakfast time. So of course we open early in the morning, and I feel like the afternoon is when it like popped off, and there were people lining up and taking pictures, and it was loud in here and it was like crazy. But because we had that morning like feeling like we don't know what's gonna happen, it was scary. But yeah,
of course,
the Saturday and Sunday was incredible. It was like all of our family and friends came to support, obviously, but also just like people in the community telling us like, oh my gosh, we need something like this in this town. Like there's nothing like this around here. Like it's just a breath of fresh air when you open something like this that's new and exciting and aesthetic, and it's not normal around here. People are excited about it. So it was really cool to get the feedback.
That's interesting. Yeah. I personally, like with Pure World, we launch products often. We're always trying to bring in new offerings for our community, ways for our community to get involved and show their support. And so every time we bring in a new product, our most recent new product is our Baja hoodies. They're these like really cool, some people call them drug rugs, but
they're cool.
They're called Baja hoodies, Baja, California, Baja, you know, like that part of the country and in the world. Mexico, they're made in Mexico with recycled materials.
Oh, cool.
But we launched those a couple months ago, and it's like, you know, we get a couple hundred of them, and they don't sell out in the first week. They, you know, like we aren't the type of company that like builds up super hype and then sells out within 24 hours. And I have never been able to master the hard launch.
Is that something that you want? That like...
Right. I mean, it's like, what the hard launch is it's building up anticipation, and it's advertising something but not letting people buy it. And you're like really hard advertising, and you're setting the date, and then you let the floodgates open and everybody hopefully goes and purchase. But if you spend all that time to like hard advertise and then you open the gate and then nobody comes and purchase, you're like, okay, what did I do wrong? And so that, to me, that's something that I haven't mastered yet. I don't know. Time. Yeah.
Like you can't promote too long in advance. Like for me, I know, like I have experience with someone who was opening a store and they advertised for a year or like 8 months, 7 months. And then, you know, you take that long to open. If you post something or if you put something out there too early, people are going to forget about it. It's going to fizzle out. And that's why I think this store in particular had a pretty successful hard launch, because we promoted it only 2 months, built out 2 months. Like we were quick. So that might be like, got to find your time frame. Yeah.
And I think it's also a measuring thing. Cause like imagine, 8 months in advance and you're hard advertising in 8 months out. And then you lose steam on it. And for 6 months you go like dark. You went too hard in the beginning. However, I'm a fan of long-term projects and goals, and you hold yourself accountable by actually like putting it out into the world and telling people like, hey, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do blah, 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 you know, whatever. And so like, I do like the idea of like, if I know in my head, and I have plans that we're going to implement in September of this year, 9 months, not 9 months, but months away, 8 months away. And so like putting like little hints out there, I think is one strategy you can use. But if I were just like, all I was talking about was what we're going to do in September,
it wouldn't be cool anymore.
I'm like, what if I change my mind?
Yeah.
What if I do something different?
Even when you put out little tidbits, you're like, is this fun for me or is it like working? Like, do people actually remember it? Kind of thing,
Right. There's a concept called the mere exposure effect. And that is super relevant in marketing. And it's just like, the more you get exposed to something, the more you have an affinity for it. At the end of the day, it's all just marketing and measurement and just like trial and error. But back to the cafe. It's super cool that you were able to open in 2 months. And then before we start talking about like what it's like to expand a business, what is it like to run this business?
It was hard at first. Like I had said, I worked in other places before, but I had never actually been an owner, right? So I'd never actually had to do like all the behind the scenes things and even like bills and like dealing with all the little behind the scenes things that no one ever tells you about.
Oh my God. The finances and accounting. Jeez.
I mean, I'm so thankful for Ricky because he really does a lot of it, and good thing because I'm not the best at it. So like he's teaching me along the way and stuff, and he'll always like make me do things, which is awesome, even though I get mad at him when it's happening. But yeah, it's like, it's a lot at first. And I feel like even just the aspect of like saving money in your business and like we don't touch a dime from the cafe. We have our other things going on. So we have multiple streams of income. And so anything that is put into this place does not go into our bank accounts. It stays in the place. And I think like when people are opening businesses, that's something that they need to learn like right away, because the money's not really yours, especially when you first open.
Oh man, this is another topic of like, of just like entrepreneurship in general, is like, what are you even starting this business for? Are you trying to, there's two different like financial reasons, I think, to build an asset and to expand those assets. And so like, if you're looking at this business as an asset, you would, reinvest as much as possible to build that asset. Or are you looking at it as a stream of income? Where you're like, okay, every month I want this business to provide me with $1,000 or $2,000 or something. And I'm going to take out money because that is what's going to support my living. And so, you have to know what your goal is with starting that business. And for me personally, Pure World is my asset. And I'm trying to reinvest and build an asset that is worth an immense amount of money. And then I'm starting to do consulting in like a digital agency where that is going to be income for me that will support my living and lifestyle.
And I think when people are so like in love with what they do, in love with their business, like the money doesn't really matter as much, because you know that you're, like you said, it's going to be worth like so much one day, and you know that it's going to build. Where some people, I feel like, will open a business because they want fast cash or they want, this quick success.
Right. And now there are some businesses that you can start that are fast cash. Do you want to talk a little bit about how like your other streams of income and like what you do as an entrepreneur aside from the cafe and what helps you?
So, so the cafe itself is just one stream of income. I also do like online coaching in the health and wellness space. So I'll help people if they want to like lose weight or if they want to gain weight. Some people just want to get on a better eating routine. Some people want to get into the gym, just very, very broad. I always tell people like, I focus a lot on living a balanced, healthy lifestyle. So I'm not going to tell you that you need to do this or you need to do this. Like, I just want to help people feel better realistically. And one of those ways is with online coaching, and it is with the products that we also have here at the Daily Grind.
Cool.
So
it's all integrated in a way.
It's integrated, yes. So one thing that's cool about here is like if a customer comes into the Daily Grind, they're coming in all the time. They love what they love their shakes, they love their teas. We also have the means to sell them that to make themselves at home.
Really cool.
So that's another way that we make income through selling the products. And then obviously the online coaching is another form of income. And then I just do like content creation, graphic design, social media all on the side. And that's like play money.
Yeah, totally. When before you found your calling of, running a cafe, what did you envision, like the way that you're going to make money? What did you envision, and how were you actually making money?
Yep. So I think being very, very young and, naive and watching content creators and people in the social media space make money, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I just have to do what they do and I'll make money. And that's like definitely not how it works. And so I feel like when I finally knew how much I loved this, I was like, okay, like once you love what you do and you're doing yourself, then that's when things start to click. That's when the money comes. And so before I was always like, yeah, I'm going to take photos. I'm going to have brand deals and the whole thing, and I won't have to work. And I thought, that's what people do in social media.
That's them hitting, what is it? Catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculously lucky. And when they have that success and that many followers, there's a percentage of their followers that think, oh, okay, this is, I can do the exact same things. I'll just post with the same filter in the same positions with the same types of backgrounds.
Yep.
And I'll just become an influencer.
Yep. And it's not how it works at all. So yeah, I always had thought like, this is just what I'll do. And then when I found out about this opportunity and how you can kind of like weave them together, like with the online space, obviously you have to have an online presence to find clients and build the customer base. But I also get to play in the content creation space with my store. Like I don't pay anyone to market anything.
Right.
So
I completely agree with that, because like if you were paying some college graduate
I've gotten
marketing.
Quotes. I've gotten some crazy quotes and I'm like, should I just start my own while I'm not sleeping?
Like who is paying that much money? What kind of business are they in that they can afford to pay that much money? So I think that's like the difference between like, I've never even come up with this like terminology before, but like hard work and then soft work.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like soft work is, I'm just going to post a photo, and maybe the soft work, honestly, is because of all of maybe the hard work that you've done leading up to it. And so like, if you've done all the hard work of going to networking events and you have a true valuable following, you can do the soft work of posting a photo, and then all of those people who trust you will purchase or whatever you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
But it takes that hard work to build up, again, like an asset that allows you to do the soft work. And so a cafe can allow you to do the soft work. And the way that you could do that is by doing the hard work of the 2 months of the build out and working with city council and going and passing out flyers and creating a really loyal customer base that maybe takes you 10 months, but then they come in every single day. And then you hire a manager who you can trust, who can operate the business to the point where you can leave and go to Mexico for 3 weeks and the business will run smoothly. And that's how you create the soft work of just like a phone call once a week with your manager and everything is running smoothly. Yep. That's the dream, but it takes a lot of the hard work before you can get into the soft work, and people just want the soft work. Yep. And it's not that easy, and it's not going to be that quick. No, you have to go
through all of this. And it's funny you say that, because that's realistically the goal. Like, we want to open as many of these as we can and, bring this to communities, because it's very rare that there's a healthy alternative fast food in the town. Right. And so that's our goal. It's like, okay, we're just going to hustle and work every single day and open as much of these as we can. And then we'll come to a point where, you get to the point where it's like, okay, like I have people running these stores, I'm earning royalties, and I'm good to go to Mexico for 3 weeks. But it's because when I was 23, I put in all the work.
Right. So. Right. Yeah, that's definitely the goal of just like, I mean, it's like kind of like the franchise model. Like once you have one franchise that's profitable, then you can expand that and then like have more and more. And I know families who do that, and super lucrative, but doesn't necessarily mean that like there's no more hard work, because then if you're running 30 franchises, you're like making sure, the pipe bursts in one of them or something, and you have to you have to deal with that, and you have to deal with the city council.
Yeah.
I had a question about just like the operations of the business, like day to day. How much time do you spend here, and do you have employees, or you're opening this new location? Are you going to have to hire more employees for that? What's your plans
Yeah.
there?
So here we have not been open for a year yet. And we have only kind of hired one person. Me and Ricky are two people. So right now we would just rather work every single
Sweat
day
equity.
than to pay someone to be here, especially because we're still building the business, right? So like
Right.
when people come in, they want to see me and they want to talk to me, and that's a big part of business too. Like you can't just throw someone in your job because they're not going to have the same connection with your customers as you have with them. So with the new location, so Ricky and I used to have 2 locations. And so we were used to being at a different store every single day. And that works for us. Like we don't need to be together every day.
You used to have 2 locations. Talk about that just for anybody who doesn't.
Yeah. So Ricky and I own this one, and Ricky used to have a location that I used to just work at.
Right.
And it's not around here. It's not somewhere where we want to live. Like, is what it is. And we had gotten the opportunity to actually sell that business to someone in our organization. So we do not physically run that store anymore. We're not the owners. We don't, we're never there.
Right.
But we earn a royalty off of that store.
Cool.
So that's
Very
kind of the goal for the rest of them long term.
Yeah. And that's kind of like passive income.
Yes, 100%.
And that's, passive income is the goal for sure. What drew you towards the health lifestyle?
Yeah. So growing up, I was always a competitive dancer. So I was always kind of moving and, in that life. And then when I went to college and got older and just stopped doing that, it kind of just ended. And so I wasn't even really into the health and wellness space until I was introduced to like this business and that place that sold shakes and teas.
Yeah.
And once I started feeling better drinking the shakes, I started like going to the gym. So it was very, very minimal. Like I would never have expected that I would be a coach in this space.
Right.
And so it was very minimal. And then I think that I personally have like an addictive personality. Like once I get into something, I'm going all in. So that's kind of what happened with the gym. I was like, okay, like I fell in love with it. I started going every day. I hired a trainer. I got in best shape of my life, trained for a bikini show, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, like I learned so much during that phase, and I don't see myself now like wanting to be that person. Like I think I got over it.
Right.
And now I like the coaching side of it, and I have the space to do the business and that versus like just being in the gym every day. That's not like what makes me happy,
What you're saying is that you started like drinking health products and then it got you into the gym. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like what did that, was it people really inspiring you and saying that like, hey, if you're drinking these products, you should take advantage of the benefits?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a mix. Like I think, yeah, for sure. I definitely saw people like looking good and going to the gym, and I was probably inspired by it. And I was like, okay, I could do that too and go to the gym. But I think like when you start eating healthy, like a lot of people don't really think about this, but like living a healthy lifestyle and being healthy is 80% nutrition, 20% fitness. And a lot of people will just jump into the gym and they're like, okay, this is it. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. I'm going to feel so good. And then they crash because our bodies aren't meant to work that way. And so I think because I was starting to take care of my health and the foods that I was eating, like I was drinking the shakes and then I just had more energy. I think it like motivated me to get back into moving because I used to dance.
Right.
So I like had always missed that form or like that aspect of my life. And so I think just because I started feeling better, I was like, okay, now I have the energy to go back to the gym. And that's kind of how it got moving.
So you used to do a lot of dance, and then you said you like went away to college and it just kind of like fizzled out.
Yeah. So I was a competitive dancer my whole life, and then I taught dance, and there was no like career that was coming to me.
Right.
There was no like next step.
Right.
So it was like, okay, am I just going to stay in the same place and like not make money doing it? And it's something I enjoy. Yes. But there was no movement.
Right.
And so when I went to college, I kind of just dropped off dance. Yeah.
I mean, it happens to so many people. It happened to me personally. Like I played a sport in like 11 of my 12 seasons of a high school.
Yep.
And the last one, the last spring, I just didn't do anything. I didn't play a sport. But I'd been so active my entire life, and then I went to college and I was like, okay, I don't need to go to the gym because I don't have any competition. Like, I'm not doing any competitive sports or anything like that. Like, I spent that time of my life working so hard in athletics that now that I don't have any real reason to, I'm not going to just go to the gym for fun.
Yeah.
I was going to the gym because like I wanted my hockey team to like win this year.
Yeah.
You know, like I was in shape for running because I played soccer, and the position that I played needs to run an immense amount. And for almost all of college, I just like didn't, the first 2 years I didn't step foot in a gym.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, it was really interesting. And instead I was filling that time with social, like just like, like I made so many friends, had so many amazing memories, but I didn't go to the gym for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, okay, this has been missing in my life. And it wasn't until leaving college that I like realized like why going to the gym and staying healthy is so important.
Yeah.
And it comes naturally when you're dancing. You have to go to dance practice. Like you have to do it however many nights a week.
Yep. Like the show Dance Moms, like that's what we did. Like compete almost every weekend, like the whole thing.
And you can see how people get burnt out.
Yeah. And so I knew I was like missing something. Like I used to always say like, oh, I want to like dance again, or I want to teach again, or things like that. But it was just the moving aspect. Like when you're moving your body, whether you're like in the gym or going for a run or whatever, like you just feel better.
Totally.
And when you don't do that, like you really kind of, you know, like once you get back into it, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I take 2 years off?
Right.
Like,
right. For me also, it's going to the gym and lifting weights is like, I don't know, kind of superficial. Because like, okay, I can lift metal, but why am I lifting this metal?
You need like a purpose.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
I'm not like, you know, it's not, to me, it's not a sport. It's not competition, unless it's like competition in like how my body looks compared to somebody else's. But it's like my body can look a certain way. I can have massive muscles, but if I can't run 5 miles, if I can't like, if I can't climb up a wall, if I can't climb over a fence, you know, like regular things. Yeah, like things that are actually functional, practical, for a human to do. Like you should be able to run at least a mile. Yeah. And like, cause what if someone's chasing you?
It's true. You have to be prepared, and you have to climb over the fence.
Yeah, exactly. You have to climb over the fence, and maybe you have to, you know, I don't know, climb over a rock. Yeah. You might have to fight somebody. So like something like that. Yeah. And someone actually who's in the gym, powerlifting, like they might not be able to do any of those things. Dancing might be the most functional activity. Like seriously, like, cause you could dance 2 nights a week, no problem. If you just go out Friday and Saturday night in places that people are dancing, you use that skill so much. That's true. That's true. There are very few times when you're like you're very few times and you're like climbing a wall. Where like rock climbing, like I've been rock climbing a little bit, and like that's fun, but like it's not organically. And even now, like TikTok, like if you want to film a TikTok, I could learn it in 2 seconds. Yeah. I wouldn't hold you back. That's a skill for sure. Fighting, it's like how often do you get in a fight, but you do want to be able to get fight? Like yeah. So it's interesting, but tell me a little bit about your like experience graduating high school and going into college. Okay. And like that whole story. What happened? Wow, I do not like going back to this place, but that's okay. It could help some people who are in similar positions. Yeah, because it's crazy the fact that we just, you know, we have to find out or think about what we want to do for the rest of our lives at 18, 17, like it's crazy. So fun fact about me, I was originally trying to go into fashion. And I was like very big into fashion. I actually like made my own prom dress in high school, and I was like, like fashion was my thing. And it looked all right. Oh yeah, I'll show you pictures later. That's amazing. I made 2 prom dresses, and I made my boyfriend at the time his tie too. Wow. So I went all in. But yeah, so I was really big into fashion. I was also making like dance costumes, so I was just good at like doing that kind of thing. And I got into a school in Georgia, like pretty much a full ride fashion school. I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to go away. This is going to be great. And at the time I had a long-term boyfriend, and that whole can't go away, can't lose my boyfriend, can't lose my job, can't lose my family, can't lose
dance, like all the things started like coming together. Like, oh my gosh, am I really going to move to Georgia? And my family couldn't really afford college anyways. And there was, you know, a full ride isn't really ever a full ride.
Right.
And I would have had to pay for a lot of things. And so I think like
Take out debt.
it was easier for me to be like, oh, I'll just stay home. I'll go to the college at home. So sometimes I wish that I had gone away because I think it would be a good experience. But at the same time, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So
Yeah.
everything that happened is okay.
Totally.
So I ended up staying home, ended up going to the local college. I went to Rhode Island College. I went there for teaching.
Teaching.
Yeah. So
Isn't it funny how things work out?
yeah. So my mom and my dad are both teachers. My dad moved on to be a principal, but that's all I knew. I was like, okay, I'll work all week. I'll have the nights off so I can teach dance. And then I'll have weekends off and I'll have summer off. And I thought like, this is going to be the life. I had gone to school for a year and a half, absolutely hated it. I realized I did not want to be a teacher at all. I'm good. I was going to be an English teacher in high school. So I was good at that. And that was like my subject. Like it never gave me problems. But I realized when it came time to teach that, like I wanted no part of it. I had no patience. That's just not me there. And like, bless the teachers that are out there, especially today, because it is so much work and so little pay. And I just knew I was like, I can't, like, I'm just made to do so much more than this, you know? And so I dropped out, and that's kind of how I fell into the whole working all the jobs. And that's how I got to finding a place like this. But yeah, I think like, if you don't know what you want to go to school for, don't go to school.
Facts.
Like it's crazy that to think that
Unless you have somebody who's maybe like fronting the bill.
yes.
Like, yeah. If you've got somebody who's ready to.
Even then, like there's so much time. I always say this, like I wasted time taking these courses and like taking tests and studying and being
That's so
stressed and all
true,
these things.
yeah.
And I haven't even touched like anything I've learned.
Even if you have someone fronting the bill, don't go to school for something that you like don't
like,
really know that you're passionate
That was like
about.
a whole year and a half of my life that I could have been doing what? Like,
Right.
you know, it's
Totally.
But I know that there's, you know, all these things out there. Like people feel like they have to get a degree, or people feel like they have to go to school,
Right.
or people feel like they have to move away. And like, I don't know. I would rather see someone move away without having to go to school there. Like put yourself in a new place, go get a coffee job and meet people and just talk to people.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? Like that is so much more, I think, can like just grow you into a person
Right.
than like going and sitting at a desk and being upset all the time.
Yeah, if you had gone and danced and went to school in Georgia, I mean, what are the odds that you would own your own cafe?
No.
Like that's such a difficult. That's a daunting. I said it earlier. It's a daunting goal to have.
Yeah, and
it's something that people would put off till they're like 50.
Yeah.
Like when I retire, I'm gonna start a cafe. Seriously.
so funny because like love them, but the couple down there, they just opened the breakfast spot, and they're like 60. They're like, we wanted to own a breakfast
Right.
place, but yeah, like what if you wait all that time to like be happy?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have something for you though.
Oh, you do? Oh shoot, I love gifts.
So this,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, this is our Capitola boho bag,
I wanna
and
wear
that's
it.
for you.
Thank you.
It's made out of organic hemp
you guys
in
see
Nepal.
Oh my god, the logo's so cute too on this.
Yeah, I designed that like so
Yeah.
long ago.
It looks so good.
Thank you.
I know,
Yeah.
Cassidy, you want to see? I got this new bag. No, this is like really good quality too.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I'm gonna.
Yeah. It's actually like a serious bestseller.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I
People love
soap.
those bags, and we actually have 4 more styles of these coming out in the next couple months, and they're all maybe 3, I don't know, and they're all going to be complimentary to our best-selling 4 backpacks.
Oh, cool. So, you can
they
match.
match.
and set.
Yeah, and that's something that's definitely like a high level thing that I've been implementing with the business. I'm really proud of that strategy because
Yeah.
then people can get more products and it like makes sense. They match together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
And
I
we
love
give them a
that.
discount when they add more products
Oh,
on.
fun.
And,
So they
and
can
so
get the package.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
Thank
to release
you.
these, but this is the Capitola and people love it. So I hope you love it too.
Yeah, I'm so excited to use it.
Yeah.
It's super cute.
Cool. So you said that you were interested in fashion.
Yeah.
What were you envisioning your life would be like in fashion?
I don't think I really had any idea. I just learned that I could make clothes. And so I think that I originally wanted to go to college just to learn more about how to make them. I don't think I ever saw it as like a business thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think about fashion as a business thing.
Yeah.
Especially people like yourself who are young girls who are going into influencing, even young men who are like, I'm going to become an influencer.
Yep.
When you're an influencer, a lot of people try to start their own businesses, and like it's a lot of fashion and like making sweatshirts. Like sweatshirts is like the first product that people are making. But you never thought about like designing your own sweatshirts or?
So it's funny that you say that because I started a clothing line.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
Because it's a natural progression.
Because that's what we do when we want to be, when we want to be influencers and stuff. But yeah, so I started a clothing line. Fun fact, my boyfriend Ricky actually used to have a clothing line too.
Okay, of course, natural progression.
Because that's the type of people
entrepreneurs just do that thing.
Yeah, so he used to have a clothing line called Mainstay Athletics, and he used to do t-shirts and sweatshirts years ago. And so when we had gotten together, I kind of was like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. Like, we should bring back Mainstay. We should blow it up. Like, I'm good at the graphics. So I was like, okay, we'll make graphics. We'll bring back Mainstay Athletics. He really didn't want to. Yeah. He was young. I think he's like, that was my thing. Like, it's done.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I want to do something. And it was super ironic. I ended up getting in touch with someone who produces the clothing. So basically this guy reached out to me on social media. He was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing merch? Have you ever thought about doing a clothing line? I work with tons of influencers and entrepreneurs, and I produce the clothing. All you do is like market it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like the same time. So I was like, this is weird. Like, this is timing. Like, I don't know. I was like, is this just like a hoax or should I run with it? I ended up just starting a call with him, a Zoom call, and we talked about it. And he was like, this is what I can do for you. It was a 50-50 split. All I did was like choose the graphics and kind of, pick what I wanted to go on the shirt. And he did everything else. He did all of the like printing and all of that. He did all the shipping. He took care of everything. Yeah. I didn't do much.
Totally.
And so we started it. It was called the Be Well brand. It's still on Instagram, but we're not open.
Okay.
But the Be Well brand, we did hoodies and we did t-shirts, and it was all just saying based. So I did the first line, like just sayings. We did hats too. So I had like hats that said extra protein. I had shirts that said clean energy addict and different things like that. Ooh, along like the wellness space. Yeah. And I would love to bring it back one day, but I want to wait until I have like more to put into it. But yeah, it was just like a fun thing to do because someone came to me and was like, let's do it. And then what had happened was that guy actually got offered a job with New Balance. So now he works full time on New Balance, and he was like, look, I can't work with anyone else now, like, contracts and things. Yeah. So I think it was kind of like okay, like that was fun while it lasted, but I didn't like make much from it. And I was focused on too many things at once.
Right. That's really interesting. We are actually, we're starting to do that. We are actually launching a brand with a really cool influencer name. Her name's Isabella Marnasio. And I hope I pronounced it right. I have never asked her how to pronounce it, but her brand is called Souls of Sunshine, and we are releasing that in the probably next month or two or something. And so we also did a collaboration with another influencer named Emily Stevens, and that was the Dynamo collection. And we actually made hemp backpacks and a boho bag and a laptop case, and that did pretty well. But maybe we could do something.
Yeah, I feel like we should. We should figure something out.
Yeah, it's so easy because we have all the fulfillment.
Yeah,
and we have the printing and merchandise, access to merchandise and stuff like that. So the hardest part is always the design. Yeah, that's the part that like I can do all of the operations. I can make sure that it gets shipped to the right customer at the right time. I can make sure that the product quality is good. But if the designs are crap, then
I know, because that's really what people are buying.
That's something that like is not replicable either. We talk a lot about like AI and like whether or not like AI can compete with like human creativity. I don't know if it can.
I know, like how all of those AI like photos were trending. Did you do yours?
No, I was actually, okay, so I had a plan, and I wish I did it. It was right around Christmas. Maybe, I don't remember when it like started getting really popular, maybe in November, December-ish. I was going to, for my parents' Christmas gift, I was going to get their parents' photos and then do AI of my grandparents.
Yeah.
Because I thought that would have been crazy.
That would be kind of a cool gift to open.
Right?
Like it makes you think.
Like Prince, and they're like, Grandma is is an Egyptian princess? Like, what is this?
Oh my God.
And my parents don't know they're not on Instagram seeing everything. They'd be like, what is this?
Yeah. So you didn't do yours?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, you should.
I know.
It's funny because I feel like what people aren't talking about is like once you do it, you look at yourself weird. Like after I did it and I got the images, I got like the 20 images or whatever, and it put my face in different people. And then you like look in the mirror and you're like, is that what I look like? Like the way, like, the way you see yourself is not the way people see you. Yeah. And like for the next whole week, I was like, oh, this is weird.
Did you feel better about yourself?
Not even, I wouldn't say I felt better. I just felt like you actually are seeing what you look like, because I feel like you look at yourself very differently. Where when I was seeing these pictures, I was like, oh, these kind of don't look like me. But then I was like, wait, but they do look like me. I
guess it's like how other people see you. Mm-hmm. That's really fascinating. Yeah. I just saw a video of, I don't know, an actress or model who was like a little bit self-conscious about the way that she looked, but she was looking at herself in a 3D mirror.
Okay.
I don't even know what that means. Yeah. It might be the wrong term. It might not be a 3D mirror, but some sort of mirror that made you look more like the way other people see you.
Okay.
And she liked the way she looked better. And so that was cool to see. I was like, damn, I should get one of those.
Yeah, right.
I want to see myself in a 3D mirror if it makes me like myself a little bit better.
Yeah, like I wonder how that is. Like what are the differences? You know what I mean?
Depth.
Yeah.
I think depth, like, and that's cameras too. Like you can have a very flat image, or you can have an image that looks like you are like almost 3D.
Yeah.
And that's aperture for like a lens. Mm-hmm. Like certain types of aperture can give you more depth. So there's stuff like that. There's technology, but I wonder if it's a digital mirror, if it's really just a camera that's then projecting. Like, who knows?
I know.
Really interesting. What are your thoughts on body positivity and like being self-conscious about the way you look? Like, have you ever struggled with that, or do you have like any advice for people who may be going through something like that?
For me personally, I've never, I mean, of course we all have like days and moments and whatever where we're like, ugh, about ourselves. But overall, I've always been pretty self-confident. I think that just stems from like growing up as a dancer. Like I've been on stage my whole life, and I've danced in front of thousands of people, but I've also worn like tiny clothes in front of thousands of people. So I've never really like worried about it as much, I guess, especially as like a young age. So I was just used to it. I was always like very, very underweight too. So I never really had like much to think about as a child. I will say like once I got older, and this is like one thing that I always talk to people about, like always talk to my clients about, I'm like, and it's kind of self-explanatory, but you're never going to look like you did when you were 13 or 14. Yeah. Like now you're 23 years old. Welcome.
Yeah.
And so,
or 18.
Yeah. When you grow up, like it's something that it's like you don't even really think about it because it's just happening naturally. But I will say, like when I went to college and things like that, like I started like growing up, I started gaining weight. I started like having curves, and I never had any of those things as a kid. Like I graduated high school at like 95 pounds, like tiny, I was always very small. So I feel like any change in general, like when your body starts changing, you start feeling self-conscious of it because you only know the first body that you had.
You spend 18 years with that underweight body. Same with me. Like I was underweight for my entire life, and then I like went on the scale like the other day and like looked up my BMI, and by my height I'm overweight.
Yeah. And it's like what? Like, yeah, like
I've never been overweight.
And you grow up people telling you that like you're skinny or, little or whatever. Like, like my parents always said like that I was skin and bones. So you always like hear these things and then all of a sudden you're like not that anymore and you think that it's a bad thing, but it's not. It's so normal. And so I don't know. I always try to tell the girls that I work with, I'm like, your body's going to change. That's normal. You can like sit here and dwell on it or like wish that you looked a certain way. But the second that you start like working on your body and it starts getting to its healthiest version, like my healthy body is different than your healthy body is different than his healthy body and hers. Like it's going to all be different. Our weight, our heights, like, you know, everybody's different. So I'm always like, once you start feeling better, like you're going to like the way you look because you're going to feel good about it.
Right.
Where most of the time when we are feeling any sort of like negative feelings towards our body, it's because it's not healthy and we are just, you know, not in healthy states.
Yeah.
So that's like one thing I always tell people is like, just start working on you and you're going to fall in love with it. But you also have to know, like, you're never going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think for people who are maybe like not super happy with the way they look, another thing that can be difficult is that they want this like quick fix, and that's where you get into like the really unhealthy
and that's just something
behaviors.
that like we are as people, like we always want like immediate gratification with everything we do, like how we talked about, you know, opening a business and making all the money right away. Like that's just something that we're wired to think like that things should happen so fast. So yeah, I would definitely say that like you have to know that it's going to take time, especially if you want it to be sustainable.
Right.
Like if you could lose weight fast, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to come back, or that doesn't mean that you're not going to be healthy in the way that you're doing it. Yeah.
And I think it's important to have smart goals with your health as well, because if you set a goal that is not realistic, like I want to go to the gym 7 days a week and I'm starting it on January 1st.
Oh gosh.
Which we're seeing people like now's the time that people are starting to flake out on their New Year's goals. Well, it's because you set an unrealistic goal. You should have said to yourself, okay, for the first month for January, first meal of the day is going to be a healthy meal. And if I can do that, then I get that one win in the early in the day. But if you're setting yourself up for failure, you're going to feel like a failure and it's going to discourage you. So I think just like for people who are trying to accomplish anything, it's like be realistic with your goals. And oftentimes people are over optimistic, or maybe some people are overly pessimistic, but acknowledging those biases, like me, I'm overly optimistic. So acknowledging that, and then setting myself back to a little bit of a more realistic standard so that I can feel a success rather than quickly feeling a failure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that like I think about all the time. I'm like, whatever I'm working towards is not something that I want to last for like a week or a month, or like when you're, you know, you're building your podcast, you're building a brand, like you're working on your health. Like those are things that you want to last you a really long time. Yeah. And so you have to know like you're in the infinite game, which means it's going to take infinite work. Like you're never just going to stop working on it. Like even when your podcast is booming and your business is booming, I don't see you stopping because you are in the infinite game. You're in it till the end. And so that's something that people need to take seriously about their health. Like you're going to be alive until the end. So you got to like work on it, you know, for a long time. It's
hard to become passionate when you're experiencing so many failures. So that's why it's important to like set your standards to a place where you're setting yourself up for wins. And those can be small wins. Going to the, you know, getting your body moving. For 4 days a week or something like that, you know, like setting yourself up to win, setting yourself up like I'm going to work on this business for 2 hours for 4 days a week or something like that. And that way, like you might not make any dollars that day, but if you put in that effort and that time, that's easy. Nobody can stop you from putting in the effort and the brain power. So that can be an easy win. I think that like with entrepreneurship, it's like a sheer numbers of hours invested game. The more hours you spend focusing on it, the better chance you have of succeeding. And it's like I have friends who are in the finance industry and who are in like consulting and stuff, and they're pushing 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week. 60 hours a week is a lot more than the average of 40 hours a week. So like, how could you ever expect to get that success without putting in the effort? And like, there are people out there who are working 80 hours a week. So push yourself to at least work 60 or something. And a lot of people just want it easy without putting in the work. And you could split your time of, if you said 60 hours a week, you could split that time against 3 different ventures. And even if it's 30 minutes a day where you're like, I'm thinking about how I can start a e-course business. In 30 minutes of the day, I'm going to write my curriculum. And then when the timer's up, okay, done. Tomorrow I'll get back onto it. So just pacing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think pacing yourself is super important. And like, when it comes to spending time on something, you know this, like, as much as I do, like when you're invested in something, when you're ready to do something, like the time flies by. Like you'd asked me before, like how much time do we spend, like, you know, doing these things? Like when you're an entrepreneur, like there's no clock in, clock out. There's no, you know, I work this many hours. Like I couldn't even tell you how many hours I work a week because it's just like go, go, go all the time. Like when something needs to get done, it gets done. There's no like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And that's just like the mindset. And I think that's the mindset that you have to have if you want to be successful. Like, you know, there's no one telling you when you can and cannot do something. And when you want to do it, you're just going to do it. You're not going to feel like it's work. And the best part about that is like when you work, you work. So then when you play, you play. Like you kind of, you have the opportunity, you have the ability to do that. Totally. You know,
in your business, running this cafe, what are the challenges that you go through on a regular basis? Like what does an average day look like when you're running this place?
Yeah. So I think there's like the small term, like everyday problems, and then there's obviously the larger ones. But on like a day-to-day basis during the week, we open at 6:30 in the morning. So I'm up every day at 5:30, 5:45, getting here, opening the store. With this type of business, like the opening and closing process is pretty simple, but we'll be here all day long, open till 4 o'clock during the week. That's probably like the latest. And then obviously there's the closing, and then there's always something to do after work. So luckily, because I am the owner here, when there's downtime, like you'll see me posting on my stories, or I'm checking in with clients, or I'm doing a quick Zoom call. Like that is the luxury of owning a business. Like no one's going to tell me that I can't do that.
Yeah, totally.
And so I really do try to take most advantage of my time, and I do try to get a lot done here so that when I do have the chance to go home, I can be at home too. Like we're all people, so we need to do laundry, we need to do the dishes, and like Ricky and I try to spend time together. So I do try to make most of my work here. But that doesn't always happen. We have like business meetings on Zoom like 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week. Ricky and I will get asked to speak on other organizations' Zoom calls. So it really kind of just depends on the week. But I would say like the work mindset like doesn't turn off until we go to bed. Like if we have to run to the store and buy sprinkles, or if we have to, you know, go meet with someone, or if we're going to work out, or if we're running a workout, we have to coach it. Like there's always something to do. It's like very rare that we're just home and like watching TV. Although I do think it's important to do that too. Yeah. I think it's important. But yeah, I would say like the days just go by. Like last night, for example, like I left here, went home. I had 4 meetings last night, and then we ended up hosting a business meeting, and then like dinner in bed, and like that's it. Like that's just what happens. Right. But yeah, the luxury of that is like I went to Texas last week and I left for 4 days, and yes, I still ran my business while I was in Texas, but I set myself up so that I can be in Texas for 4 days, and so you know, it's just like it's your time.
Right. Do you have any strategies for organizing your time and your tasks that you got to get done?
I wish that I was better at it, because I'm not that good at it. I tend to like make a list and kind of say like, okay, what needs to be done today? What needs to be done this week? Like realistically, because I might get excited about doing a certain project where realistically that doesn't need to be done first. Like when it comes to like the marketing and the graphic design and like content creation, like that's stuff that I thoroughly enjoy doing. So of course I'm going to want to do that first. But if I need to like do inventory and catch up on that, if I need to like run the books and catch up on that, if I need, you know, do the things that aren't fun, like I'm going to put those to the back burner. But I've been trying to lay it out that way. Where like, okay, this needs to be done today. This needs to be done by 4:00 before I leave this place, where like the marketing and stuff can be done when I'm home and on the couch. Like, you know, just trying to be more mindful of the order of getting things done, because realistically there's something always that needs to be done. But I think that just as humans, we'll choose to do what we want to do first. And that's not always the best bet, you know?
Yeah. I've been starting to try to do like the task that I know I need to get done that I don't want to do first.
Yep.
Usually it's customer service.
Yeah.
Like we have Angelique, who does most of our customer service, but she's in the Philippines. So it's like our times are flipped. So if we get messages at 9 a.m. or something like that, then,
She's sleeping.
Yeah, she's sleeping and I want to help her out. And so I'll handle those real quick. Maybe I shouldn't even help her out, because like then I'm doing other people's jobs, and that's a whole nother story.
That's like a struggle of being a business owner, is like you just want to do it
Or sometimes it's the weekend and I'm like, I'm not expecting her to be checking these emails, but these customers have questions and I should spend the time to answer them.
Yeah.
But doing that task early in my day and getting it done is like a check off the list. Okay, now I'm being productive. And so for me, it's writing lists and then just like being productive. A lot of times I'll have calls that like I want to make to friends even. And I'm like, put that on the to-do list.
Yep.
And then just after I get done with the phone call, cross it off, and now I'm being productive. Stuff like that. I was going to ask you though about if you have any like ideas for how to innovate a cafe.
How to innovate it.
Yeah,
make it more...
like creative ideas that you like have like thought about doing someday in the future that you think would be really cool. Like any ideas about how like what maybe cafes aren't doing that like they should do?
Yeah. I don't know if I should like give it all away.
Oh my God.
You know, but yeah, I think like obviously like a vibe is it's going to make a huge difference. Like, and that's just something that is almost like standard now because of all of the places that are out there. Like there's so many places you can go to that are a vibe and they're Instagram worthy, and you know, that's what the world is today. Totally. So I think that there needs to be like something for your customer to do there. Like, yeah, you can like go in and get a coffee, but like, it's gotta be a little bit more than that. Like here we have, like we do the online like coaching. So I'll like meet a lot of my clients here. And then if someone comes in and they're just like a come and go customer and they see me talking to someone about their weight loss or their workout journey, like they might be like, oh, like she does that too. Like people like are always like, oh, you do that too. Like if I want a program, you can help me. I'm like, yeah, like let's make an appointment for next week. So like, I don't know, you got to offer a little bit more. I also think like themed places are really, really cool. Like Ricky and I are pretty interested in doing a theme for our next location. Yeah. It's in like a college area. It's in a city where the Daily Grind is in a town, so it's a little bit, you know, more suburb, more like more chill.
You guys are coming to Bridgewater State University?
No.
What?
Although we should though, because I don't think there's a spot over there.
What's the college town?
So we're opening near Stonehill College.
Oh dang it, I got them mixed up.
Yeah, Stonehill College.
Cut that out. You guys are coming to Stonehill College?
Yeah. So it's pretty much on the Easton Brockton line, so on the line of a city and a town. Just very, very high populated area, lots of like chained places. It's just high traffic, very busy. So we're thinking that would be a better space for a themed type restaurant, cafe, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to share the theme just yet because
it's going to be a surprise.
It's in the works.
Yeah, don't speak too soon.
Yeah, we're like 98% sure we know what it's going to be, but we signed the lease last week. So
okay,
who really knows?
It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
It's going to be a surprise.
But
cool.
But yeah, I think and it's got to be clean. That's like a huge deal. I've gone into places that are vibey and are trendy, but if they're not clean and the people working there are not fun, it's going to be tough, you know, like if the place is a vibe, like the person working there has got to be a vibe too. Like I want to be like yelled at when I walk in the door. You know what I mean?
It's so funny you say that. Like I have a good friend who will be on the podcast soon. He's a beekeeper. His name's Jake Allred.
Ooh.
And Jake, like we would talk about like our dream back in school to like own our own bar. Mm-hmm. But he would say, but it's got to be dirty and dark.
Well, that's a good bar vibe.
But it's like, it's funny, like go one or the other and be intentional about it.
But if you're just
bar
like, vibe.
If you're dirty for no reason and just because like you literally don't have the time or care to clean.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like that's why cafes are so different too than like a bar.
Yeah,
like when you
for
go
sure.
into a cafe, it's Yeah,
you don't want a dirty
like
cafe.
when you walk into a bar and you're ready to have a drink, like you don't care what the floor looks like. You don't care when you're squeaking when you're walking up to the bar.
That's so funny.
But yeah, that's gonna like make or break your space for sure.
I think lighting is like, lighting sets a vibe.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Lighting is a big thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, these lights.
Yeah,
those are not cheap, but they're a vibe. And
they are a vibe.
They change the entire space.
Yeah, they definitely are a vibe. Designing this place, how did you do it so well?
So Ricky and I have worked in a lot of places before, a lot of cafes before. And so we kind of figured out like what we like and what we don't like right off the bat. So when we were building out this space, we knew immediately that we wanted a very clean, modern look. I also think that works the best so you can play with it later. Like when we decorated for the holidays and then we'll decorate for the spring, like you can play when you have, minimal color schemes.
Yeah.
We're just both like that in life too. Like our house looks just like this.
That's sick.
So we're
really
very minimal. Like black, white, gray is always the vibe. We recently started like dipping into browns and that's why we kind of added it here. But I think it's just like the clean look is very welcoming. Mm-hmm. So yes, when we were setting up this spot, this is our smallest space. But this is the most expensive one because we kind of went all in. Like, I don't know, maybe we'll have to give the viewers like a tour after or something.
We'll give a quick tour.
They're like, what are you guys talking about?
Actually, let's just give them a quick tour right now.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so now that you saw what we're talking about.
Yes, it's a beautiful place, right?
Thank you. Yeah, just like we played a little bit more here with like the waterfall bar that you guys saw and the black underneath and the way the bar is laid out and the TV menus and like all of those things. We pretty much just did like huge Pinterest deep dives and like we did a lot of research at like other people's places and other cafes. We went to a lot of cafes in like the Boston area and just like you just kind of like have to do the research and see, okay, this is something I definitely don't want. This is something that I want. And then just throw it together. And it kind of always seems to work out that way.
Yeah. We talked earlier about how community is such a driving factor in like, I mean, social media, networking and all that stuff, but also in a cafe, you have that opportunity to have like those real world connections and that it lends itself to creating a community a little bit more intimately.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the WeWork story?
No.
Okay, so WeWork was basically these office buildings that companies could like essentially rent out, and it was like a network of them. So if you were a member of WeWork, you could not only go to an office space in Cambridge, Massachusetts. You could go in San Francisco or in Austin, Texas, and you could get just a desk space, or maybe, a company could have an entire office segment of the WeWork. And basically, WeWork was this real estate company that was buying all of these like property buildings and office spaces all over the world. But what their key differentiator was the community aspect. And so they, in reality, were a real estate company, but they were playing themselves off as like a tech company.
Okay.
That like has community, and it's like they got their own app.
Yep.
A social network for people who are WeWork members, and then they can connect with each other. And so they were getting valued as a tech company, which has a multiple of, like people are like, oh, it's a tech company. I mean, they're going to get 10 times what they're worth right now if I invest now.
Yep.
But really at their core, they were a real estate company, which doesn't get a multiple of 10 to 100 times. And so these investors heavily invested in WeWork, and then when people started realizing that they're just a real estate company, their value dropped way, way down low. And I guess the reason why I'm talking about it is because their strategy, their differentiator was community. And that's like what they were trying to bring to the table. And they didn't do it well because people weren't using the app.
Okay.
And the social network wasn't as engaged as like Facebook or something.
You think it because it wasn't natural?
I think creating a social network is very difficult today. Like TikTok caught lightning in a bottle.
It did, yeah.
Snapchat.
I was on Musical.ly before TikTok.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So maybe you knew that it was coming, but like Snapchat, the message, the photo disappears in 10 seconds for good.
Yep.
That was crazy innovative. We're seeing Be Real come out and do something that's super innovative. And we don't know if Be Real will survive. I mean, there was also Clubhouse. I don't know if you remember Clubhouse.
Oh my gosh, you remember Clubhouse?
Clubhouse. You had to get an invite.
Yeah.
And I remember like asking someone for an invite. He was like, I don't know, man. I only got like...
You only had like...
however many.
Or
I'm like, dude,
and I used to be like, oh my gosh, who am I going to send this to? Like, me and my friends were all like, okay, you send it to her. I'll send it to her. I'll send it to him.
Yeah.
Clubhouse was cool.
Clubhouse, for anybody who's listening and watching who doesn't know what it is, it's
You're
basically...
too young. That's what it means.
I think it was big in the professional space.
Okay.
You like entrepreneurs, marketers, they were really hot on it. Because it was, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so podcasters, like, it was kind of like the introduction to this idea of an audio-based social media app. Because, like, Instagram was always photos, and TikTok is always, like, videos. Snapchat was just messaging in general. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
What could you do?
On Clubhouse, you could like listen to like people's podcasts and things like that. Like, they would just come up on your almost like a feed where there's no place to find podcasts on a feed. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So it was innovative, but I mean, are you on it right now?
No, I'm not on Clubhouse.
No, I'm not on Clubhouse either. So something happened there. And I just think it's like really difficult. And so when WeWork was like, we're creating the social media, they didn't catch lightning in a bottle. They weren't innovative enough in their idea. And it was, I think it probably felt a little bit forced. In terms of like, you know, a cafe, and I asked you like if you had any innovative ideas, I was thinking to myself, innovation could come from community and like, but you don't want to be WeWork, who like over-invested in the community aspect and then it wasn't organic. And so I was thinking like maybe like evening events or...
Yeah, I think like with the community here, like we do want to do more like outside of club hours, like especially with the other location being right near the college. Like we at some of our other locations, you know, we sponsor sports teams and we'll like bring drinks to games and things like that. I just had like a meeting yesterday. We're going to be like sponsoring a baseball team in town. So like we do try to do those things too, to show to the community, like, look, we don't just like own this store and like clock in and clock out. Like we care about the health and well-being of the people in the community. We'll host like some events, like we've hosted like brunch events where we invite people and there's like family combos and, you know, all the things. But I feel like that's just inviting people to something that is also just like a game changer where like, I don't know if that company was like inviting the outside to come in or if it was just for the people who worked in this.
There was a level of exclusivity. But like Facebook was for Ivy League schools. They caught that exclusivity with the right
but then they like opened it up.
Yeah, and then they slowly started opening it up to other schools who weren't Ivy Leagues.
And now everyone and your mother and your grandmother's on it.
Your grandmother and your aunt is definitely on it. For sure. A little too much probably. And that's why you don't want to be on it. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think you've got a really, really awesome spot. Super interesting story. It's definitely inspirational. Just like the idea of like knowing that you want to do something different with your life, maybe something extraordinary, and then trying things, failing, but not giving up and continuing to search and then like landing on something that's actually awesome and then keeping up with that. The last thing I guess I want to talk about was like running a business with like a partner. And, you know, there are some accelerators, entrepreneurial accelerators like Y Combinator that only, or maybe it's Mass Challenge, that only lets you enter in as an entrepreneur if you have a partner. And
you had mentioned that.
That's because they believe it's so valuable and important to have a partner, because business partners ideally are someone who has complementary skills. What are your thoughts on like running a business with a partner? I'm personally a solo entrepreneur, so I don't really have much to talk about with it, but how is it for you?
I think that owning a business with someone obviously comes with challenges like anything else. Cassidy's back. But yeah, so Ricky and I own the business together. So not only are we business partners, but we're in a relationship. So that's even like a whole other conversation that we can get into later. But I think that if you are looking to own a business with someone, like I know you had mentioned, like, do I need a partner? Like, is that something I should get into?
Some people say that I do if I want to be in their accelerator.
So I think that like overall, the purpose of that is because I think anyways, is that like they want to know that you can work with people. Like they want to know that you're not in the my ideas are the only ideas mindset, because that is what a lot of people, you know, are, especially if they're business owners, like, and they've been doing it for a long time. They may think like my way or the highway. And so I think by having a partner, you're automatically able to work with someone and communicate. For me personally, like our relationship as being business partners is amazing because we both know our strengths and weaknesses. Like I know what I bring to the table. I know what value I bring to the business versus Ricky's, you know, what he can bring to the business as well. And we understand that we both are not going to be good at everything, but we know that if we want the business to be successful, then we're both going to have to put in the same amount of effort regardless of what we're putting in, right? So if I'm better at, like, for instance, I do all of the social media and the graphics and the marketing and things like that. That's what I'm good at. Where Ricky's good at like finding the places and building them and working with the contractor and doing the ins and outs and the inventory and like the business side of it. I'm a little bit better at like the front of it. And we know that is our strength. So like I'm going to be the one that goes and talks to the news, or I might be the person that goes and talks to the sports team because I'm, you know, that's who I am. I'm the woman in our relationship anyways.
in entrepreneurship, they would say a good business has a visionary and an operator. And I think that's like the key duo that that investors would look for.
Yeah.
Like they dream for that duo.
And I think that's what we are, but if we had to switch roles, we could. And that's why like our dynamic is really good too. Like if I had to do all of those things, like I know how to do them and I could do them efficiently. Do I enjoy doing it? Maybe not so much, but I could get it done. And same thing with Ricky. Like he could turn over and go do all the other things too. Like we both could pretty much do everything in the business.
Right.
And we, like I said, we both want the same end goal. So we know that these are the things we have to do to get where we want to be. And we're just going to both put our head down, blinders on, and just work until we get there. Obviously, there's some days where we fight and get into arguments and we want things done different ways. That's normal. Like if you're not fighting with your business partner, you should really rethink why.
Right.
But it's normal because we both want something so bad, right? Like we both have this dream and this goal for the daily grind, for our other businesses, for our whatever, that you're going to have so much passion that's you're going to fight once in a while and you're going to have very headstrong opinions. I think that because we're also in a relationship outside of the business, we both know like how to kind of get over those things. Like we rarely fight about anything. And if we fight, it's normally business related, right? Because we both, you know, want this so bad and we understand that about each other. But I think that having a business with someone else it probably would help you grow whether you want it or not, because someone will push you to work harder. Someone will push you. Someone might tell you something that you don't want to hear. And that's really good for you and good for the business.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what's next?
Okay. There's so much, I feel like, but, I don't know. Right now I'm in this place where I'm like riding the wave. Like I used to be the person that always had goals, and I mean, I still have goals of course, but I felt like I had to like check mark goals, where now I feel like I'm like, okay, this is part of the process. Like the things that we're doing right now aren't goals anymore. Like before I used to say, I really want to open a cafe. And then it was like, okay, now I want to open more cafes. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But like the end goal is having just tons of these places where people can go to and feel better and get healthier. And along the way, I'm helping people like me open a cafe, be happy in their new job or in their new space, be making an income that they never thought they could make in a cafe, and, you know, just keep that going. So now I feel like doing all the things that we're doing are just like, they're just stepping stones. But yeah, like I said, the goal is to just continue opening more stores.
Yeah.
Like 3-year plan, 5-year plan, obviously start life stuff.
You start thinking about that?
Yeah, like a little bit. Like I had mentioned before, like I was in a relationship for a long time and I was very stickler in that relationship. Like these things have to go this way. And I learned that like life just, it can't work that way. Like you'll drive yourself crazy.
Right.
And so in my new relationship, I definitely take things more like as they come, especially in the beginning phases of our relationship. I was just like, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like I'm happy now and I'm just going to be okay with being happy and I'm not going to overthink it. Now that it's been a long time, we have businesses together, we live together, all the things we both talk about, you know, married, kids, all the things.
All the things.
I feel like there's so many things, but it's funny because customers come in all the time and they're like, oh, like your husband or things like that. And I'm like, oh, not yet. Or people will say like, well, when are you guys going to get married? And I always tell people, I'm like, look, like we're in this like grind business mindset right now. Like a ring on my finger is not going to change our relationship in any way. And I'd much rather invest my money and my time and my headspace into this than like planning a wedding and, you know, thinking about all of those things. Ricky is like 7 years older than me. So that stuff is, you know, coming for sure. But I just think like, especially when you're working with your partner and like we do have the businesses together and things like that, like I'm just more worried about where this can take us, knowing that like we have our whole lives to be married and to have kids. And by the time we do want to do those things, we'll be financially set up and financially stable to enjoy those things. Yeah. Like I know so many people like who, you know, they have all the things. They have the marriage and the kids and this and that, and they like can't afford to take them on vacation, or they're not happy in their jobs, or they don't have enough time to spend with their kids. And it's like, I'd rather just work my ass off right now, knowing that I'll have the time freedom then to be the most present in my family and in my relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think like it comes back to this idea, like we mentioned earlier, you could have started a cafe when you retired, but there's no time more important than the present.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on and for welcoming me and Pure World to your amazing space. And hopefully we'll come by and see your new one when that comes out.
Gosh, for sure. Yeah.
Do you want to tell the people watching or listening where they can find you, how they can support you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram at Emily Potemri, just my first and last name. If you want to stay up to date on the businesses, we have the Daily Grind Nutrition LLC. That is this space. And then the new one opening in a couple of months is the Fuel House Nutrition, also on Instagram. That's probably my main space. So you can come check me out and support me on there. I have all of my coaching and online businesses there that you can check out too. You can DM me whenever you want. I love to chat with you guys over there.
Yeah. So if you guys are in the New England area, don't miss a stop here. And if you guys want to support the Pure World podcast,
oh my gosh, get one of these bags.
You can shop sustainably sourced adventure gear at pureworldshop.com. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you guys. Bye.